I found an easy way to create those spring-like animations in my games, exactly like the ones you see in this video. But let me tell you the full story. A few months ago, I decided to quit my mobile game dev job to try a few different things like teaching game dev, creating articles, tools, and writing a book. Well, it was a bold move that I don't regret, but I still cannot cover all my expenses with everything that I created, so I decided that I will update my portfolio. So I did what I always do: open Unity Hub, create a new project, give it a name. Then I did the usual setup that I like to do: removed some packages, added the Phantom Navigator, organized the folder structure, and in a few minutes I was ready to start. But I needed an idea for the portfolio game. Then I remembered that some weeks ago I was working on a mini Grand Theft Auto-like game with lots of technical stuff that could add to the project and really show my skills. So I did it again. Opened Unity Hub, found the project, opened it, played a little bit, and navigated the structure to have an idea of what was under the hood and what assets I would need to recreate it from scratch. And one of the first things I noticed is how much I like Kenny assets. So naturally, I opened Kenny's website, selected Asset section, filtered by 3D, and found the package that I wanted in the third page. It is this cool animated characters retro. Then I clicked download and hoped for someday to be able to donate huge tons to Kenny, but unfortunately, this is not the moment. And looking at those old retro-style graphics, I remembered when I was younger playing my Dreamcast and how common it was to have some kind of character selection screen. I don't know, the simple idea of having an option that changes the gameplay is so interesting to me, so I decided to do the same thing in my project. And at that moment, something clicked, and I remembered watching a really cool video about springs on the Toyful Games channel on YouTube. One of the coolest parts of the internet is having so much high-quality content available on YouTube. Things that you would normally have to pay hundreds of dollars to access, and a good soul decided to share it with us, mere mortals. And of course, I already had an old project implementing that cool damped spring stuff sitting on my computer, so I decided to, guess what? Open it up. I found some cool experiments I had tried before, so it was just a matter of reverse engineering my own work and moving it over to the portfolio. But here's the beauty of refactoring your old code. You almost always find a better, cleaner way of doing the exact same thing. I guess that's just what happens after messing around with Unity for over a decade. And honestly, there was one massive improvement that I made this time, which we're going to talk about in a second. I started messing around with the selection screen, threw in some buttons, and even messed around with the initargs library. But something was still missing. Even though the code worked for me, I felt it wasn't reusable enough for the broader Unity community. Think about it. We already have ridiculously useful tweening libraries like DoTween, which I always end up using in my projects whenever I want to add some quick juice completely through code. So I opened up a blank file and tried to imagine what the ultimate line of code would look like to use these damped springs. I wanted something as clean and seamless as .tween, where you just type a dot and magically a method pops up to do the trick. No clutter, no friction, just pass the right parameters and it works. That was my goal. And to pull off this magic trick, fortunately, C# gives us a powerful tool called extension methods. According to the documentation, extension methods enable you to add methods to existing types. Boom, that was exactly what I needed. So I decided to bounce some ideas off of my AI friends again to combine extension methods with my Spring physics and see what we could come up with. And we did it. I'm usually the type of dev who loves to write every single line of code myself, but in this case, I accepted that the code was fine, it worked as I needed, and it was time to move on. After all, my goal wasn't to build springs, but to finish my portfolio. And to be honest, as much as I love Unity, I feel like we spend way too much time reinventing the wheel compared to engines like Unreal. I really think we, as a community, should share more tools and knowledge to speed things up. But anyways, I went ahead and set up a public repository so anyone can grab it for free. You can just head over there, download the .unity package, and drop it straight into your project. Now, let me show you exactly how to use it. I have here a simple project with a camera put 10 units back, a cube in the origin, and a black material attached to the cube. Now you create a monobehavior script and name it whatever you want. Attach the script to the cube and open it. For this example, I want simply to move the cube to a position, so I am going to create a vector 3 and name it target. And now we need to update the value position. To do that, we calculate the new position using position.spring2, and we pass the target as the first parameter, but you will notice that we also need to provide the velocity, frequency, and damping, so let's create those variables. Now use the ref keyword and pass the velocity, then the frequency, and finally damping in this exact order. The damping closer to 0 will bounce forever and closer to 1 will not bounce at all. And the frequency makes sense when the value is between 1 and 25. You have to test for yourself and find the values that fit your needs. Now back in the editor, I set the target in Y as 2, the frequency to 7, and damping to 0.34. And when we hit play, we can see the spring beautifully working. Of course, you can change it in runtime, and it will work as expected. Now, if you don't want this to be running in the update loop and prefer a one-shot approach, just like DotTween, you can use the async approach. I will guide you. Open the code again, and instead of using update, rename the method to whatever makes sense to you. I am going to name it spring on click. Now remove the left part, and instead of calling transform.position, call transform.sprint to async, fill the parameters, and discard the result in the underscore. Notice how in the async call we don't need to create the velocity variable. And now, back in the editor, you can create a button and set the callback onClick to call the method that we created. Just make sure the method is public. Now you have a damped spring working in a single button click. Perfect. But since your boy here still needs to pay the bills, I thought it was only fair to create a premium version focused entirely on production convenience. I took this system and built 5 interactive production-ready examples. Things like a selection wheel, juicy UI sliders, and a cool camera zoom. By the time I am recording this, it is still in Unity's curation queue, so there's no guarantee it will be approved just yet. Let's hope for the best. But of course, you can support my work by checking out any of my courses on Udemy. And real talk, I don't sell garbage. I structure my courses exactly the way I wish someone had taught me when I was starting out. They serve as an excellent technical reference for your professional career. Please take a look at the description below. I'm absolutely sure you will find something valuable for your own projects. Thank you so much for the support. I'll see you in the next one, and take care.